Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm at the park. Yeah, already yawning. Man, it's so hard to get up, man. I called myself coming out here to practice. I was like, yeah, as soon as I came out here, I was like, yeah, like that's gonna happen. Shit. Job been working the hell out of a nigga, man. But I'll tell y'all what, though, I got an announcement. Today is Thursday, and next week I take my first week of vacation. So I'm looking at the situation like, yeah, dude, yeah. I'm looking at all this, man. I'm like, yeah, do what you gotta do. Up here throwing everything, including the kitchen sink at a nigga, including having the stupid man up here calling himself supervisor. Now, by stupid man, I don't necessarily mean my supervisor, but they're these leads that we have. And you know, it goes back to that old saying and how America goes out of its way to violate its own principles about never sending a boy to do a man's job. Because you literally have these boys calling themselves trying to run the show. Now, let's break down the logic of, and yeah, I'm glad I'm here talking about this now to clock some tea, even though that's not the crux of this video, but I'm gonna just go ahead and put it out there. So, first of all, we have, I work trailers. I work at a warehouse. And we have these drivers, or trailer drivers, they call them hustlers. Prior to coming to, I never even heard what a hustler is. I'm like, what the fuck is a hustler? But that's what they call them. So we got this woman hustler, right? Now, for all my MGTOW folks out here, waiting to the very last minute of the day to bring, an even larger trailer with more large loads. Mind you, like towards the end of the shift. And normally, as far as these leads, there's literally Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Tweedledee, for some odd reason, had to pick his big ass up and go somewhere because he wasn't there with us. So that left us under the supervision, or under the lead, if you will, of Tweedledum. And this fool was up here talking about, hey, I need you to pick up the pace. And if that wasn't irking enough, try this on for size. How about me pulling out 2 different types of bread? Because that's what I do. I work in a bread warehouse. One is wheat. So the first, and both of them have similar logos on them. So but it's obvious that you can read, like, but something. It goes back to this Gen Z. What happened? It goes back to these dumb motherfuckers who can't read and write. Because he asked me something so asinine. So I had 2 types of bread. Both of them had the same kind of logo on it. It was like a yellow tag. It was like the economic bread. I can't remember, the cheap bread. One's wheat, one's white. And if you could read, you would be able to distinguish the two, right? Of course. And, we have this area where we stash excess bread. And that's for, like, huge loads. Like, so we make a big line and it takes up the entire space. And if there's, like, if there's half of that, if we have a tug or a load that's about half that, we put it off somewhere else, kind of like in the middle. But there's another spot of what we call the boneyard or the bullpen that's really reserved for like huge loads, like loads that go up to like 14, which is what it did with the white bread. Because mind you, the first load that I pulled was wheat bread, and I only had like at the most 7 racks of that shit. So there were 2 loads left completely full, like that extended up to 7 by 7, which makes 14 of white bread. This fool, in the midst of all this chaos, is gonna ask, pretty much in a nutshell, because I didn't even know. I'm like, bro, your question, I'm like, do you even listen to yourself when you talk? He pretty much wanted to know why was it that I was putting the wheat bread. Because again, these niggas, I'm like, it's true. These Gen Z motherfuckers can't read. So to him, he probably thought I was putting the same kind of bread, or that I'm putting I got 2 whole lines of 14 rows together, but I got 7 rows of the same bread apart from the 14 rows. Which, even if it were the same bread, say theoretically, for the sake of argument, all the bread was like white or wheat. If I have 2 rows that extend out to 14, yeah, I'm going to want to put that in the bullpen because it's extensive. But if I have half of that, I'm still going to want to put it in that middle row because it's not as much bread. Because if I put it in the bullpen, it's going to be, it's going to take up space that could be used for larger loads, right? Common sense would tell you that even if it was a different type of bread. He's trying to figure out, why is it that I took 2 loads and put them here and put the other load in the middle? To which I answered, because it's wheat bread. I know it has the same kind of logo, but it's a different kind of bread. It's wheat. The bread that I have in the bullpen is white. And I'm like, and to me, I'm like, this is exactly what happens when idiots go to work. Not only when idiots go to work, when idiots are put in positions of even minute authority. I'll tell you something. Denver has made it abundantly clear that they're a bunch of idiots. I look my nose down at these morons, and they have shown me that. They have shown that they're complete morons. They're fucking stupid. Not just that clown, which the whole time I was finishing up the shift, I was just thinking, I'm like, well, like that old saying that we used to see on that bumper sticker: if you hire a clown, or if you elect a clown, expect a circus. Because this is what clowns do. This is what bozos do. They will use their flawed logic, their flawed intellect, and then question you. Yeah, question you for failing to what's the phrase I'm looking for? Failing to, I guess, perform the task the way they see it. Which, like I said, even if all the bread were identical, assuming this dumbass could read, which clearly he can't. Because I mean, to me, I'm like, what kind of stupid ass question is that? Some of the most asinine shit that people like me run into on a day in, day out basis. Because even if you could read and write, and you could tell that it was wheat, like 7 wheat and 28 white, say theoretically all of it was white or wheat, I would still want to put the half load, that makes up 7 versus the one that's 14 in the middle part. Because like I said, and I've told these people, I've told these dickheads at this job numerous times not to be putting half loads in the bullpen, especially, when we're, when we have, peak seasons, because it takes up too much space. Now, I'm not even gonna play guess that race. But seeing as I live in Denver, Colorado, I leave that up to you. I'm not even gonna talk. I'm not even trying to get my channel flagged or, get this video doxxed. We're not even gonna play guess that race. And if you're thinking black, need I remind you that black people make up 10% of Denver's population. So I'm gonna just leave that for context clues. But even though this is not the crux of this video, because the crux of this video is really what I want to talk about is what Leslie Jones got up here and said about marriage. But I got a little bit, before I get to that, with the time that I have left, because I am kind of on an egg timer, I do have to go into work today. I got to finish up these 2 days. And the nightmare will finally be over, because I swear, and I've always been wondering, why is it that by the time, because it's April now, and I'm like, this is the first quarter of the year. And for the life of me, I couldn't understand, because I guess I was so far into the year of last year, I couldn't understand why is it that I'm always taking my first, because I get like 3 weeks vacation. And I couldn't figure out why is it that I'm always taking, my first week, in a time as early as April. Yeah, now I know. Because this year provided very good example. They worked the hell out of us during Valentine's Day. They worked the hell out of us during St. Patrick's Day. And they're working the hell out of us now due to Easter and Passover. So yeah, your boy tired. Your boy needs some rest. Because, I don't know, it's just been way too much. Not to mention the retard that we have for a hostler. Dropping off. And not only just dropping off in excess, because I get it, we're busy. We're in peak. But to do that shit at the very last minute and then have Tweedledum talking about, I'm like, this is what these people do. This is what they do. They drop shit off to the last minute, and then they'll come and either Tweedledee or Tweedledum will come up to me and tell me that to pick up the pace. As if I had anything to do. So I'm supposed to break my back because of flaws and holes in logistics. I'm telling y'all, bro, for all this hype about what Denver, Colorado is, and the fact that it's got jobs here of all places, I mean, in a city full of these Dr. Seuss ass characters, Dr. Seuss ass NPCs, it speaks volumes to the nature of this country. The fact that I had to come to a place like this and do what I gotta do here instead of elsewhere, because it's not like, you know, I would have wanted to do it in Memphis, or could have, for that matter. A city as resource barren as that place. But back to what I was saying. I pretty much did lose my train of thought, but I did want to go more so into, and yeah, I haven't forgotten about you know what I got to say about Leslie Jones saying what she got to say about marriage. But no, I wanted to grill a little bit more on, for the sake of getting on this tangent, I wanted to grill a little bit more about these Gen Zers and the fact that they are indeed fucking stupid. And I just want to take, a little bit of time to congratulate America for finally creating a generation of dumbasses. Because growing up in the mean streets of Memphis, that's the kind of generation that you tried to make out of us. Dumbasses. Out of me. A dumbass. You tried to make the son of a historian, but you didn't see that. You didn't see the son of a historian, the son of a man who taught at Memphis City Schools and eventually the University of Memphis, much less a black kid with a father. You just saw a black kid or a black man and fought tooth and nail. And yes, fought tooth and nail we did for the most basic of an education. Reading and writing, like reading comprehension, listening skills, things of that nature, things that this next generation of dumbasses do not possess. Sean James just talked about these morons. And it had me thinking back because, as critical as I have been about my education or my miseducation, as critical as I have been, I think I see some sap on this tree. That ain't no surprise. Yeah, that's definitely tree sap. It's sticky than a motherfucker. One thing I can say about that free education that I got, and which in and of itself was a red flag for you. Because anything, that should tell you that anything that's free ain't worth even dealing with for real. I mean, there's a reason why there's such a thing as college tuition. But with all that said, my biggest criticism towards Memphis City Schools, which eventually became Shelby County Schools, was the fact that it trained us so poorly in STEM. Now, mind you, this is Memphis City Schools we're talking about, so of course, the standards already, pretty much in the gutter. But from what I hear, because I've met people from all around the country, the standards ain't any better there neither. If anything, probably worse. Take Denver, Colorado, for example. What's up with all these adult high schools? I know they got all kinds of high school dropouts out here. I mean, it reflects. Their culture reflects. And somehow I'm always in the middle of it, sharing on the experience. Me, a college grad. Because I made sure that before I ventured anywhere, outside of Memphis into the rest of America, that I would at least have a college degree, even if it's something as bullshitty as a lib art like Spanish, German, and Japanese. Degrees that just have no kind of application in real world applications as far as finding the job. But one thing that I can say about my K through 12 education, despite me being who I am now, what I mean by that is that I pretty much came out the womb phonetically gifted. I was born phonetically gifted, so reading and writing was never a struggle for me. But I was just thinking, growing up, and for this whole hype and excuse that, well, these kids have computers. Back in the 90s, we had computers too. Why, the computer has been a thing that's been in existence since the 1960s. Of course, back then they were huge, they were like these huge supercomputers. But yeah, we had computers back in the 90s and 2000s. I still remember them, the ones that had the disc, the CD-ROMs, as well as the floppy disk. Now, our education they could have premised our education completely reliant upon the computer. And I can, at first I couldn't figure out why would that be such a detriment, because it's such an advanced machine. But the problem with that is, if you're constantly typing, I never even thought of it like that, because, if you're constantly typing, you're not doing much pen and pencil, the paper time, or any at all for that matter. And that doesn't translate, typing doesn't translate to writing. Yeah, reading, sure. And with the way, with the LOLs and, the coded language, the misspelling of words. Yeah, all that leads to illiteracy. When you base that as your language, and I mean, we've seen this over the years with the rise not only of the computer, like the laptop, but with the rise of the cell phone, which is practically a computer in and of itself. People writing things in code instead of laugh out loud, writing LOL, just to make one example. But like I said, as critical as I have been of my miseducation due to their ill preparedness of training us and real skills that we could have used for engineering, and we would even ask, what are we doing math for? And they couldn't give us a concrete answer. Whether they couldn't or wouldn't, makes no damn difference. The fact of the matter is they didn't. Could not, would not, did not. Couldn't tell us that these math skills can be used so that you can get a good job in comp sci and in some sort of engineering. Couldn't tell us that. Could not, like I said, could not, would not, did not. But one thing that it had me thinking of is that from the first grade up until the 12th grade, our education consisted of, no matter how different the math was, or the science, or in its lowbrow preparation. Because mind you, this is coming from someone who was in the optional program, so you can't just look at me and say that, oh, I was just a ghetto kid who feel so far behind and was taking algebra 1 in the 12th grade. No. No, that would be your ninth graders, your average ninth graders, taking algebra 1. I took algebra 1 in the 8th grade, my G. When I was in the 10th grade, I took algebra 2. And these skill sets gave me the foundation because, as of right now, and I know, yes, I am on a tangent, y'all just gonna have to bear with me. These skill sets, because the highest math that I took in high school was, it was a split between trig and pre-cal. And as poor as these interpretations were of these math skills, of these different branches of math, the classes that I took did not give me the, I guess you can say, the tools that I need to prepare for something like, standardized tests like the ACT and the SAT. They just weren't intense enough. Because standardized tests like the ACT and the SAT go out of their way, to trick you and, make you think. So these were very basic approaches to said math skills. Skills that you will definitely need. And the thing is, I had those skills. I had those foundational skills, like I would say, like at the most, high school math, for lack of better words. But it wasn't SAT prep. It wasn't ACT prep. And that's something that I'm doing now to this day. And mind you, I've been doing it for quite a minute. It ain't something I just started yesterday. No, more like shit. Like I would probably say 7 years ago. And there were a lot of gray areas, like things like percentages. Because like I said, we only did it for like a couple of weeks, like percentages, or and I mean going in depth, in full depth, that things that you have to look at as far as questions that are asked on the SAT. Make a long story short, we didn't get a solid education in math skills, math, not just math computation, but math reasoning. Because we got the numerical shit. We got the times tables down. But it was math reasoning. Like if Johnny has 8 apples and he gives 5 to Sally, how many does he have left? That type of shit. But one thing that I can say about this free education system, a system that if I were to have children, I would never, from K through 12, I just wouldn't do that. And that's just something that the black man, and as well as the black woman, mind you, the so-called educated black man and black woman, just does not understand. Mind you, a generation of black men and black women who endured integration. And just could not see, or would not see. Again, could not, would not, did not. The crime infested, teenage pregnancy infested, dilapidated schools that they would be subjecting the kids to. calling themselves trying to get something of an education. And we ain't talking about Stanford or, nothing of that sort. But damn, like, at least being somewhat able to, do some geometry, do some trigonometry. You know what I'm talking about? So within these schools, within Memphis City schools, which eventually became Shelby County schools, what we had, the least that we had, at least we had each year we had two subjects that assured that we millennials, to say the least, would be able to read and write, if nothing else. Because, hey, math, reasoning be damned, right? But at least the nigga can read and write. Even though all our subjects did require us to read. It required that shit. But I'm speaking as an optional student. I'm not speaking as a ghetto hood booger, student. I'm speaking as a National Junior Honor Society inductee. I'm not speaking as a hood booger who had to go to school because to not go to school would have been truancy and it would have been against the law. I'm speaking as a student, a former student of MCS and eventually SCS, who was actually very much invested in his education. Maybe not to the extent of a Chinese national or an Indian national or South Korean national. Maybe not to that extreme, but close enough. Which is why, for years, I've had to invest in my own education, in my own studies. This is why I've pressed so hard over the years for fluency in a multitude of languages, because now we live in a society full of people who aren't even fluent in their own. How are we even going to talk about learning Spanish, learning Chinese, when my nigga, you don't even speak English? And if you speak it, you can't read it or write it. You're illiterate. And you need both. If you can't read it or write it, you're illiterate. And I've been preaching this till I was blue in the fucking face. The importance. But I didn't realize over the years, up until this generation, this Gen Z grew up, how fucking bad, not only how fucking bad it was, but how fucking bad it had was getting. Because if I had known that, I probably would have been promoting, instead of, trying to start some sort of business of teaching Spanish, the same way you got math tutors, you got piano tutors. It's an obvious skill set when you're in a country full of people who don't speak English. They speak Spanish. And you're surrounded by a bunch of dumbasses who aren't trying to learn Spanish, but they're trying to communicate with people who only speak Spanish. So there's only two options there. You can either get the Spanish speakers to learn English, or you can get the English speakers to learn Spanish. Or hell, I'll even offer a third option. You can get both of them, to learn each other's language and switch back and forth. Because at some point we have to interact with each other. And my life has shown me that. So to me, the obvious answer to me was learn Spanish. I mean, hell, I had a niche for it. I had to take it in high school. Yeah, and it was required to take 2 years of a foreign language. And the most applicable wasn't French or Italian, it was Spanish. The two subjects from first grade, because kindergarten didn't really count. That was just finger painting and basic skills, like I said, finger painting and just arts and crafts and shit. That's as much as I remember kindergarten. So kindergarten don't even count. But from the first grade up until the 12th grade, there were two subjects that ensured our literacy in the very language that we speak. One, English. Two, social studies. History. Where I'm from, we called it social studies. Where we would learn about the history of this country. And we didn't learn the history of this country in French. And I can use French because, back in the day, French was recognized as an international language. It was actually recognized as a NATO language. So French had some pretty good groundwork, even here in the States. Before we started seeing more of a Latino or Hispanic presence, you started seeing more Spanish. See, I remember that. But no, these books were written in English. And despite the fact that we 90s kids, and now, even though I was born in the 80s, I consider myself a 90s kid because I grew up in the 90s. I didn't grow up in the 80s. I was born in the 80s. But I'm a millennial nonetheless. We millennials, despite having access not only to computers, but actually the internet in its earliest stage, were still required to do book reports, we had to use the computer to type out our book reports. But we had to do rough drafts. In other words, the computer wasn't the end-all be-all to our literacy skills. It just wasn't. It was a tool. It was a second hand. Kind of like a resume. Obviously, you wouldn't want to write out your resume. No, you write out, and that's another thing too. Now you think about it, back, in the 2000s, as I had gotten a little older, applications were written on paper. Now applications are done online. So I have no doubt that these people can type. I'm trying to give them, because you try to give them the benefit of the doubt. I know I'm kind of dragging this on a little too long, but I say all that to say that, these fuckers are stupid, and the powers that be they wanted shit. They wanted that for us. I know they wanted that for us. Look how hard these motherfuckers fought tooth and nail. Just for the whole thing of keeping us illiteracy. I'm illiterate. I mean, look how hard they fought. I can personally attest to that shit. I really can, because I'm a Japanese degree holder. And I'll tell you, that wasn't no walk in the park. And I've been kind of kicking myself over the whole thing about fact that, it doesn't translate over to the job market and whatnot. But I had to kind of take a step back as far as looking at what I've accomplished, even with the expense that it has cost and is going to cost. I hold 3 degrees. I got Spanish, German, Japanese. And I literally had to fight the city of Memphis to get it. Fight Memphis's culture, fight Memphis's plight towards black men, where they believe, pretty much like my ancestors did. Just like my ancestors did. History quite literally repeating itself. Because this nation fights so hard for the narrative that black people are supposed to be dumb. And that's my point. And to subject your child to a system that sees your child as that, sees your child as underperforming and underachieving, and goes out of its way to sabotage your child's advancement in education every chance it gets so that he or she underperforms. You'd be amazed at how many black people do just that, including my parents. As much as I suggested, expressing concern for my education, whether that was going to a Catholic school, if nothing, worst case scenario, a Catholic school. But the cheapest alternative, homeschool. Because homeschool is practically what I've been doing. Not only what I am doing, what I've been doing. But, at this point, I'm going to get off that topic. I've ridden that horse way longer than I anticipated. But I just wanted to say that to point out the, America's future, right? Because when I was coming up, America's future, who was supposed to have been America's future was supposed to have been doctors, lawyers, scientists, people who obviously, in order to do those kind of jobs, perform those duties, would obviously be required to be not only fluent, but literate in the English language. So this future that they sold us millennials is a future that we're finally starting to see was smoke and mirrors, because it's through Gen Z that we can finally see what future America had for America's youth all along. Because I'll tell you, bro, I think back to 20 years ago, it was nothing sweet about being a 20-year-old in the mid-2000s, post-graduation of high school anyway. And the hell on high water I had to go through just to walk across stage for a bunch of crusty degrees and the lib arts that didn't translate over to anything in the job market. So with that said, what this society has in store for the 20-year-old of today, based off of what I've seen the 20-year-olds of today complain about, oh my God. And how it takes me back literally 20 years ago. Now, with that said, let me talk about, now that I'm finally off that tangent, let me go ahead and go into the crux of my video. As far as Leslie Jones talking about, pretty much crucifying marriage, or trying to, making a mockery of marriage. And this really isn't, a slice at Leslie Jones as much as it is black women, period. Because I think for the sake of my own mental health, I've made an effort to stay off the topic of black women. I mean, even in a place like this, it's bad enough that I have to run into these scraggle daggles. Mind you now, 10% of the population. Hardly even that is made up of them. And I'm here to tell you, bro, it's got to be power in this melanin. It's got to be the melanin. It has to be. For me to go out in my comings and goings and run into the scraggle daggle. Because a lot of people complain about, I don't even want to say complain, they point out the fact that Leslie Jones isn't the most desirable of women. I'm pretty sure they call her all kinds of apes and all this other stuff. Goddamn spider done got up on the nigga. That's alright, I split his shit, dog. God damn it. But now we know Leslie Jones resides in New York. But take a wild guess. I just want to bring this to the attention of the YouTube streets. Take a wild guess of where Leslie Jones originally is from. You guessed it. She's from Memphis. And as horrendous and as haggard as she looks, I submit to you, subscribers, that doesn't, what Leslie Jones looks like doesn't even touch the surface of what the average Memphis female looks like. And I would also submit to you that the average black woman of Denver is just as haggard. I can't even say better or worse. But you know something? Because I really wanted to point out, here's where I really want to go into as far as the crux of my video. Have you noticed, black man, that not only are you expected to be the cleanup man, you, after going through years of mental, emotional, and verbal abuse, dealing with these Keisha, sometimes even physical, no matter who you were, no matter what kind of black man you were, whether you were the Pookie, the Urkel, no matter what category of a black man you were, because again, damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Is it just me? Or have I noticed that it's always the hood booger? It's always the big back end. It's always the least desirable of black women who's constantly in our fucking faces. Fat, black, ugly, wearing some weave, got an attitude problem. And on top of that, and yeah, not to mention, have a whole gang of simps. Running to that. Hitting it. And she up here mad at you because you ain't engaging. Hell, I just saw something some story out in New York about two brothers my age, 41 years old, both of them, killing one another because one dude was like a firefighter, and he got with this single mom, and he started dealing with her. And this Pookie, who ironically enough, had a fairly decent job, but hey, he's a Pookie, he's a crash out. He's like, nigga, fuck that job. And you know how Pookies are. We know how simpish Pookies are when it comes to their women. He didn't like the fact that the firefighter was dealing with her. He was on some, if I can't have you, nobody can type shit. Love triangle. It's a daily occurrence where I'm from. And surely enough, this Pookie ended this firefighter's life. There you go. Another classic case of black on black crime. Another case of a black man killing another black man for the black woman who probably didn't even look desirable enough. Because you would think, right? You would think that these women that black men be killing each other over would be some of the sexiest and finest of black women you could find. But have you noticed, black man, that the sexiest and finest of black women who are out there, and they do exist, usually are nowhere to be found? And I'm not talking about Section 8 ghetto hood booger, Section 8 welfare queen fine. That ain't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about sisters. I'm talking about sisters who probably, usually compete in some kind of sport. Sisters who are like models. The far and few sisters who actually hit the gym. Have you noticed that in this sea of Keishas that many of us go out of our way and go to great lengths to get the fuck away from, that those types of women are usually never to be found? And not only are they never to be found, when you do find them, they're usually dating a Brad. They're dealing with a Brad. But see, this goes back to AC's rhetoric about Keisha being Keisha regardless. It doesn't matter if you're dealing with Section 8, whether it's Section 8 hood booger Keisha, or from North Memphis or South Memphis, or Valley Girl Keisha from Bel Air, like Hillary Banks. At the end of the day, Keisha is Keisha. My question is, after all the hell that the lowest common denominator of black women that we were stuck in the same room with, stuck in the same city with, stuck on the job with, because we didn't choose this. Just like AC said, it's not our fault that we had to grow up in a city like Memphis. We didn't make that choice. I would say it's not my fault that, granted, I chose to come to Denver. But I didn't come to Denver with a black population of 10% thinking that I was going to run into the niggas that I ran into. But it's just like this black woman. After all her abrasiveness, to expect the black man to come and rescue her. To give her our hand in marriage. Now that she done used up all these, cause have y'all seen the videos of all these Keishas crashing out? White women are Becky's are crashing out too. Well, I wouldn't say they're crashing out, but they are complaining. They're bitching. They're definitely bitching and moaning now that men have just stepped the fuck off. You know, I was gonna make this video a little bit early, like when I had some time off. But I say fuck it because I gotta go to work in a few. But I said fuck it because I was gonna come out here and do a little kung fu practice. But I was like, nah, fuck that. We gonna talk about this, and we gonna talk about it now. Because you know, Leslie Jones is just a misnomer. That's just she. I mean, even she doesn't really apply much because most men aren't really checking for that for real. We just ain't. But she could be, with that said, Leslie Jones could definitely be the poster child of damn near every black woman we have encountered and have endured. Less than desirable. And we know enough that, and you would think, but again, this goes back to what, and YouTube goes out of its way to constantly delete General Tito's channel, but he was on YouTube long enough before they just recently deleted his channel to talk to us about Keisha's undeveloped, I almost said underdeveloped, no, undeveloped prefrontal cerebral cortex. So, of course, a creature who doesn't have that is going to expect the very man that she shames, berates, and even kills, directly or indirectly, to come to her rescue in marriage. Because she's not looking for love. She's not looking for a relationship. She's looking for help. And even if she was looking for all those things like companionship and all that shit, she didn't give a flying fuck about you not having it. She didn't care. What Keisha is going through now, and I dare say what the American woman is going through now, is pretty much what we've been gone through. The only difference is we encountered something along the way of our solitude. We encountered peace. Unlike the woman, we don't require companionship. Lord knows I don't. You see? All this around, this would drive the average woman crazy. Because there's nothing to grift off of. There's nothing to latch chaos onto. It's too peaceful. It's too quiet. And I'll tell you, apparently, white men have had enough of it too. I don't mind, because they've been, after Me Too and the false accusations that they got to fight in court, and even after you prove your innocence, it does irreparable damage to your reputation and career and all that. I can only imagine, yeah. And with us black men, the emasculation. What did we just see with Sha'Carri Richardson? Emasculating the black man, hitting this nigga, putting paws on this nigga, talking about some black men don't protect, black men don't provide. We figured it out, Keisha. We're damned if we do. We're damned if we do, and we're damned if we don't. It doesn't matter what we do or what we don't do. And dickheads like y'all make it so easy. That's the whole irony of it all too, is that y'all make it so easy for the black man's plight. Because it's obvious at this point that the black man does indeed have a plight. And the plight of the wise black man is to stay as far away from you as humanly possible. Seeing who you are, seeing countless examples and evidence thereof. Seeing it for a lifetime. My lifetime, 40 years. Much less some other nigga. Older, younger. right? Your plight, Keisha, obviously, is to be the thorn in a black man's ass. Because that is what you are. You are a pain in the black man's ass. A thistle. So much so that the black man is running to the Latina woman. And that's something I wouldn't recommend, because they've gone out of their way, because the Latina has gone out of her way to show me her natural racist mejora la raza ass. I wouldn't recommend that. The Asian has gone out of her way to show her Kimi Gayo Hagway hating ass. Right? I wouldn't recommend that. All the goofy ass run-ins that I've had with these people, I wouldn't do that. But you really have to ask, it really bears question, why is it that black men, not only, you have to ask, why is it that not only do black men run into these kind of Keishas, but why is it that Keisha gets so pissed off that when she sees us in the arms of another woman of another race? Not to mention, why does Keisha go out of her way? Because I just had this happen. I got on the bus, minding my own Negro business, like we used to say. And there was this Keisha with her bread, and she up here looking at me dead in my eye, like she trying to, present to me, like, this is my bread and this is my trophy. Which is ironic, because it wasn't too long. It was just about 2 or 3 weeks ago that I was looking at the Black Diaspora channel, whatever it's called, where they were talking about all these Keishas who got involved with Brad and how all of them got unalived. So I'm like, what? That's supposed to piss me off? I'm like, shit, better that nigga than me. Shit, the only thing, I actually have a counter to that statement. To this little posturing Keisha likes to do whenever, again, a black man just happens to be in her proximity trying to show off her bread. And you know what that is? You will never be Mrs. Cartwright. You will never be Mrs. Cartwright, Keisha. You can have as many mulatto babies as you want. Because apparently bedwenching is a thing out here. Which, do your thing. Just don't be mad at me. Just don't be huffing and puffing at me when, if the day ever comes, I'm dealing with with a white woman, which, it has happened. This has happened. So it's not like, this is some theoretical thing. Oh, it has happened before. I'll remind you that I was dealing with this woman who was half black, half Asian. Pretty much a Cabalin Asian, like Tiger Woods called himself, with his old silly ass. Nigga, him being a whole crash out. And, I remember, I think I told y'all that too, where I was dating this Blasian chick, as they call themselves. And there was some black girl up here giving me stank face. I'm like, see there? See there? They want that. Keisha wants her rights of first rights of refusal, or whatever it's called, rights of first refusal. Keisha wants that. She really does want that. That's why she's always parading you around. That's why she's always trying to emasculate you and trying to use the system to keep you miseducated and uninformed. That's why they don't like educated lames. That's why they call us educated lames. Part of that goes into the fact that it makes them look bad, because didn't statistics say that black women are the most hold the most degrees in this country, which means they go to college. And I mean, see, look at the hypocrisy. They don't want you to go to college, but they're going to college. Even though those degrees, many of those degrees are liberal arts degrees. So, yeah. Like quality over quantity, my nigga. Shit. But you know, just like any other culture, men are essential to a woman's survival. But what Keisha has done with that, with her survival and the use of us, is so fucking diabolic that you would have to be a complete damn fool, and most black men unfortunately are damn fools, simping for this demon, this demonic spirit, this succubus. And getting caught up just like that. And it wasn't just Pookie and Pookie, like what I said at the last story. Like, you know, productive black men, like a firefighter. I would say that's a productive black man. Getting his wig split by some so-called reform Pookie. And I call him a reform Pookie because he did have a job as a mechanic making good money. They said he even had his own home, but he threw all of that away over this Keisha. Trying to get back with this Keisha. Being a simp. And this brother, and it's so crazy because this brother probably wasn't even, we know the story. This brother, the firefighter, probably wasn't even aware of this Pookie's existence. Until he showed up. And popped both of them, but I think she survived. Now, he didn't pop her, he hit her. So, he put fist to mouth with her, but he shot the brother. That have all of us going, well, ain't that a bitch? That's life. That's life in their world, in their culture. And I'm just here to say, after everything that I've endured with Keisha, begrudgingly, unwillingly, something that I guess you could say, you know, it was definitely what movie writers would call a token experience. You remember the term token back in the day, where they had, you know, the black guy, you know, in films where clearly the main character was white and so was his or her friends. That's who Keisha was in my story. The token Keisha. You couldn't do nothing with them. You couldn't date them. Even if you wanted to. Even if she was fine enough for you to call yourself trying to approach her and trying to, you know, make something shake with her. And regardless of all of that, for some odd reason, she was always there. And that's another thing that, you know, I just want to vent my frustrations on. You can't do anything with them, yet and still, they are always there. Why? They serve no purpose. They date thugs. They procreate with thugs. So why are they in your peripheral, productive black man? What is she doing there? Technically, she's trespassing. Because, like I said in my previous video, that video that I made before, she has no place in our lives. She has no place in our lives. Yet, there she is, always there. Neck weaving, doing the neck weaving, the finger snapping, you know.
Now, if y'all can see my shadow, I'm trying to... Yeah, doing... No, just being a Keisha. Being a Keisha to the nerd. Being a Keisha to the Urkel, whom she clearly has no kind of desire for, and then runs off to the Pookie and gets his wig split, or gets some other nigga's wig split, while they over here, beefing with each other, fighting each other over her. But only in a creature's brain, pissant brain, who doesn't have a prefrontal cerebral cortex, would it make sense for the very men whom they dispose of like black widows to come and take her up in marriage. Only in a creature's mind like that would something like that make sense. Because I was going to make this video regardless of, whether or not, Leslie Jones came out to condemn marriage or, call marriage slavery. I'm like, Leslie Jones, that's a slavery. That's a slavery you'll never have to worry about, my nigga. If it is, you ain't going to have to worry about it. I'm here to tell you, bro, ain't nobody coming to cuff that. Shit. And I wish... Because, society is going to be society. Society is going to send us the big back end. Society is going to send us the lowliest and the most undesirable. So, the element of temptation isn't even there. It's not like we're running into fit Keisha. Because those broads, like I said, tend to be bed wenches anyway. But I wish as black men, we would just stop dealing with them all together and stop accepting the trash that a society that has made us public enemy number one anyway, flinging this shit at us. I wish we would stop that shit. I really do. And I say shout out to the brothers. Shout out. I will say, with that said, I will say this. Shout out to the brothers who got these Keishas pressed, who got them mad, and who got them up here crashing out for not dealing with them. Because we're finally starting to see what that all looks like. You don't see me getting up here getting mad talking about, man, it sucks out here. Why can't I just find somebody who, like off Luna. Y'all remember Luna off the Boondocks? We got these... we need to keep up. We need to keep up not only Granddad's energy. Not only do we need to keep up Granddad's energy, where we good with you, we good without you. In fact, we kind of prefer not being with you, because we come to find out that you a crazy kung fu killer wolf bitch. Ain't nobody trying to deal with that. Oh, let me go back. Denveriting. Loud ass traffic. Ain't nobody trying to deal with no crazy kung fu killer wolf bitch who's got friends giving all kinds of fucked up advice. Talking about, oh, you think you crazy? Oh, we gonna show them how crazy we are. That type of shit. We got these bitches like, well, let me talk about another thing that I consider to be words of wisdom. Because I think that was the very episode too, where they were in the park playing chess or checkers, one or the other, and Uncle Ruckus told Granddad, or Robert, if you will, Robert Freeman, that the key to happiness is eliminating all black women from your life. And being nigger free, and that's the way to be. And as much of a coon and a Sambo and a sellout and a self-hating coon that Uncle Ruckus was, he was right. But and on top of that, I'm gonna deliver my coup de grace with this. We got these bitches out here looking like Luna. If y'all ever seen that episode where she up here mad and frustrated and crying, got this Keisha couple right here. Hey, you watching me? I'm watching you, my nigga. Like I said, I ain't gotta go looking. I ain't gotta go too far with this shit. And this ain't a black community that I live in. Fuck it. But we got these bitches like Luna talking about, why can't I find a man who loves me? Pretty much, because I remember there was that light-skinned chick just going off, bro, crashing all the way out, screaming at the top. We got these bitches screaming at the top of their lungs, and we're by literally doing nothing. We're not doing anything. We're not engaging with them. We're not approaching them. And that's, again, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I guess we're just going to have to come to terms that it's much more detrimental for them to don't than it is to do. I guess so. So I'm just gonna, I don't know about you. You can do if you want shit to your detriment, to your peril. It's your funeral. It's your funeral, black man. You want to engage with the scraggle daggle? But I'll tell you what. Nah, to me, it's imperative. It's essential. Keep on. And as far as this American society, keep on sending your Section 8 welfare queens. Keep on sending your big backings. Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. And be pressed and be pissed that we're not engaging with them. Because you wouldn't fuck, like, to those fit Keishas out there, you wouldn't fuck no big back end nigga. You wouldn't fuck no nigga who got bigger titties than yours. So why would you expect me to do? Oh, that's right, because apparently black men aren't supposed to have standards, right? We ain't supposed to have standards. As I'm approaching my backyard gym, we ain't supposed to have standards. Okay, if you say so. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. So I can go and get to work. So I thought I would just say that. Like I said, I was gonna save that. I was gonna save this conversation until Saturday, but the events of, not just yesterday, but the most recent of days have made this video. Oh, excuse me, indigestion. Have made this video that much more enriching. So I just thought it more opportune to do it today. So. Fuck it. Catch y'all on the next vid. I'm out. I'm gone. Peace out.